Hello, everybody from all across the globe. Thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Greatman Ayilara, and it is another exciting episode of Intentional Parenting. I don't take this particular segment on this platform for granted at all, and I make sure that even if I miss it anytime during the week, I always make up for it because we have over 50 weeks to cover in this module alone. And the intention of this particular segment of this platform is to be able to record as much as possible and it will be useful for our children in the later future, or maybe the parents that are just giving birth, those who are already giving birth. We can easily just refer them back to it. They can download it as MP3, and we can also develop it into a book. It is not going to be all the things you need to hear about how to parent your child. And I'm not trying to take your place or say that I know better than you, but I want us to be able to liaise together and think of the way we can raise these children up in the best way. If peradventure we have been raised well and we have been exposed to the right set of mentality, we might not be here struggling with religion, struggling with politics, and all sort of things that is around the corner now. Don't forget that when you bring your family and friends along on this platform, that's when it becomes so encouraging for us to do. And also, we can use one stone to kill as many birds as possible. Today, we are going to be talking to ourselves, and the title of today's episode says that raise them as leaders, not as tally. Raise them as leaders and not as tally. Before I continue, let's go for a short musical break. I'll be back in a moment. Pardon my phonetics. All right. Welcome back. I don't want to take much of your time today, so I'm going to be speaking pretty fast, and I'm going to be saying a lot of things and also be able to query you. The very first thing I want to query you about is do you think you love totally how you were raised up as a child? Do you think you really are benefiting from the style of parenting that your parents used in training you up? Many things that you are learning as an adult that you should have learned as a child. Do you think it is to your benefit that you discover some of this truth and you are getting your confidence back at a very, very middle age of your life? Do you also want to replicate the same way that your parent taught you and took away almost your self-confidence and also your right to be able to hold a different opinion from theirs? Do you think you want to replicate it on your children also? Do you think that sometimes when you look back, aside from the father or daughter, son, daughter, mother relationship and love that was mandated that should exist between parent and their children, do you have your parent to thank for anything regarding the decision you have made in life? A lot of you actually even go to school to study the course that you are not practicing today because the first time you got to the university, you knew you were not going to make good with this particular course. But you are doing it because your parents want you to do that. A lot of you have been taken for granted so much by people that you consider as role model and mentors that you cannot even tell your parents about them. And sometimes when you are bold enough to tell your parent, they even beat you. I've seen cases where ladies have been raped by their uncles, by their father's friend, by their father's associate, by their father's relative, by their mother's relative. And even when they try to bring it up, nobody believed them. And that's because they couldn't bring it up immediately it happened. Some of them are bringing it up even after they have gotten married. That shows how failed those parents have become in terms of parenting. And it is not the fault of the children, not because they love their abusers, but because they don't have a good parent to welcome their own perspective in marriage. You must understand that all of you are stakeholders in your family. Your wife is a stakeholder, you are a stakeholder, as well as your children are stakeholder in your family. And all of you must have your say in your family. And so when you begin to live in a family that you started as if you are the alpha and the omega, you are disrespecting yourself. You are disrespecting yourself. You could be the alpha, you can't be the omega. Somebody got to be the alpha, somebody got to be the omega. And at a point in time, we can choose to also switch roles. These children also sometimes know better than we do, and they have a lot of information they want to share with us. We should allow them to grow, to blossom as we nurture them. See, don't forget yourself in the process of nurturing and cultivating your child, that you refuse to let them blossom. The pride of a farmer or husbandman is to make sure that the plant that he is planting is blossoming to the point of fruitfulness. But most times we want to be the husbandman who just grow a tree or a plant, and we don't want that plant to blossom. They say plant blossom because they begin to yield flowers and begin to bring out fruit, and they begin to share their weight, and they begin to enlarge, and they begin to have root, and they begin to expand. But we realize that most of the time we are so quick to prune the branches of the plant that we want to grow that we stunt their growth at the end of the day. We stunt their growth at the end of the day. And these children are part of the plant that we are meant to nurture, cultivate, and also allow them to blossom. Blossoming is for the child, is for that child. Cultivating and nurturing is yours. And when we say someone is cultivating something or someone is nurturing something, you are not the Lord and Savior of that thing's life. You are just a caretaker. A caretaker does not say the length at which a plant should grow, or it should put its shoot or its root. You are just a caretaker. So we must learn to also allow them space to breathe. Now, in allowing them space to breathe, I am not saying that let them be wayward or try things that will hurt their life. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that can you at least just give them a say? They might have things they want to talk to you about. I've had children who come to me, teenagers who confided in me. I've had teenagers who are under pressure by their schoolmates to have sex with their father. I've had teenagers who confided in me on the level of their masturbation now. And I've had teenagers who are already practicing homosexuality who are confiding in me. They don't want to do it, but they can't talk to their parents about it. And from all my counseling with these children, I realized that something could have been done earlier if there was an intervention by their parent, even the most. Some parents do not even know when their children begin to menstruate. It's one brother in the church that does that. It's one brother in the church that does that. And parents come to me and say, okay, can you help me mentor my child and all that? No, I can't help you mentor your child. That's not my child. That's your child. If that child doesn't have you, then I can say, okay, let me adopt a child and put my legacy in that child. But you can't be alive, hale and earthy, and then you want me to put my own legacy in your child. What about your legacy? Who continued it? Who continues that? And a lot of you have so much failed in parenting that you are looking for mentors for your children. How can you have a child that you cannot speak to, that cannot talk to, that you cannot correct? How can you put the well-being, the psychological well-being of your child in the care of another person whom you are not related to, who does not know your family value? And one thing I want you to know is that there is a reason why there is an existence of family value and we come in clustering, because there is a need for us to constantly continue the legacy. My legacy is needed for the world to go around. Your legacy is needed for the world to go around. The moment we subscribe to one man's legacy or one person's legacy, everybody becomes a slave. No, There is a need for coexistence of different ideology, different culture, different tradition, different legacy. So if you are telling us that you cannot put a continuity plan on your own legacy, on your child, you want other people to help you train them up, then you have lost the biological, the sociological right on that child. So we don't want to raise children who are just followers. A lot of people who are followers now, they are not leaders. I wrote something on the internet on my Facebook today, and somebody wrote on my fan page and said, I've been thinking of this thing, but I've been so scared to say it. He said, all my life I have been having argument and I've been discouraged about this thing that you just said now, and I have been so scared to death to say it, even though he or she knows that that is the truth. We don't want to raise children who are convinced but cannot confess. You get the point? We don't want to raise children who are convinced. They know what is right to do, but they cannot confess or profess it. They know the path to go, but because they are scared of being alone, so they just enroll to the watch population. I have made up my mind. I don't want to raise tally. My children should not be just contribution to the watch population. My children should not be useful only when they are doing population census. No, they should be standing out and they should be outstanding. That is a vow and a promise you should make for yourself. That is a vow and a promise you should constantly make for yourself, that this child of mine will stand out and become a voice in his or her generation. And it has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with gender. Those who are very close to me, they know I'm sorry to be saying this on air, they know the kind of the special affinity I have towards a female child than a male child. Than a male child. A female child, especially in this part of Africa where they have been reduced to nothing, I believe there is much more in a female child than a male child can readily just give. A male child just feel like, okay, I've been born into the world of privileges, but a female child might want to also make her way. But the funniest thing is that when a female child is put in charge of multinational organization, it is very, very, the probability of that organization standing the test of time is raised to power infinite. They always succeed because there is a special passion that is given to them by God, that whatever they hold in their hands is like they are holding a baby. You see, the way they care for their baby, for their child, the way they are so crazy about their child, that's the way they are crazy about everything they hold. That's why a career lady is super career. That's why a male child could still manage family and career, but a female child might want to focus only on the career. They are too faithful and too loyal. But that's not the topic of today. We are saying that we don't want to raise tally, we want to raise leaders. How do we raise leaders and not just tallies? How do we raise leaders and not just tally? Number one thing you must put into consideration is to constantly make them know that they are the change the world is waiting for. That they are the change the world is waiting for. So you must intentionally, consciously, and constantly put it in the subconscious of your child's mind that the world is waiting for their manifestation. Now, I don't want to raise children who just grow up, go to school, graduate, get a job, and marry, and then grow old and die. No, I'm raising them to know consciously and unconsciously that they are the change the world is waiting for. That this world is not perfect yet until they put their own contribution in it. And there is no age bracket or limit when they can start hearing that reality of themselves. And this has to do with Bible. It has nothing to do with Korean. It has everything to do with humanity. Because until each and every one of us begin to live with the conscious responsibility that we are needed in this world, we will not be able to provide any certain solution. So people are cool with there is no electricity in Nigeria. I was born in the era where there is no electricity, and till today there is no electricity, and there's nobody's doing something about it. So what if I raise a child to tell that child that irrespective of the fact that you are born in a country where there is epileptic electricity, this is not the way life ought to be. You can make a change, you can do something. And what if that child sit by the roadside one day and say, I can make electricity that is affordable and even almost free from a biodegradable waste? Now, the child did not just come into that reality all of a sudden. The child is coming into his or her reality because of the things, the gospel, the good news I have preached to him are that the world is waiting for his manifestation. But we live in a world where in a home, it is even hard for you to use the word I love you for your child, not to mention telling them that they are the best in the world. Fathers, especially, they find it difficult to exchange words like, my son, I love you. They want to go to school, you give them a peck, either in the forehead or in the cheek, or just tell them you love them. When was the last time you hugged them passionately? Hug them passionately and make them know that you are with them wherever they go to. Because the very first God that these children are growing to know is you. And whatever you say to their life is what they live with for the rest of their lives. The very first God that your child will ever know, the very first God, as a matter of fact, the only God and the only idol your child is permitted to bow down to is you. Is you. Because you represent God in their life, in their state of not being aware of their spirituality. We're going to be talking about their spirituality one of these days. But I'm saying that whatever you begin to say to the child of your life into their subconscious for them to grow up to become is what they become. What are you saying to your children? Are you telling them that now so life be we go manage them and no worry now? Or some of these children even want to lead a great cause, and you are the one pulling them back, telling them no, 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 I didn't send you that way. No, 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 don't go that way, don't go that way. No, no, no. Are you the only one there? No, no, no. Why don't you let other people talk? What if your child's voice is the only voice that will cause a change? We are not trying to raise Matthias or something, but we are telling you that come, when you don't speak the right word or give their consciousness the right data to feed on, they might grow up to just be tallying the worst population. Make them understand that they are the manifestation that the world is waiting for. Tell your girl child that a life is even beyond just growing up, finding a good man, or being romanced, or being touched by the air, or being touched by the edge of something, or finding love. What you should be talking about with them should not only be, do you have a boyfriend now, or who are you now rolling with? When are you going to bring your husband home? When are you getting married? We should grow beyond that. We should begin to ask them, when are you going to fulfill your purpose? When are you going to cause a change in the world? If the amount of time you used to talk to them about bringing wife home, bringing a husband home, you used to talk to them about fulfilling their purpose and becoming a change in their life, even at a very infant age, we will not be having ordinary children around right now. And eventually, their purpose brings about the right woman, the right man, and the right amount of resources they need to live. So constantly make them know that they are the change that the world is waiting for. This world is not a better place until they put in their own input also. Until they put their own input. Another thing is to leave them to make decisions on tough life matters. Leave them to make decisions on tough life matters. And sometimes you overindulge your child. So every time they bring something home, you already provide a solution to it. Sometimes you even help them to envisage problem and you equip them with the solution. No, allow them to face tough life matters and let them also make decisions. And sometimes it's good to give them a negligence by shadow, a shadow negligence. You know what I mean by shadow? Not that you are totally neglecting them. You are like an eagle that is actually turning the nest of a child, of a chick, and then hovering around that child, waiting, are you going to fall totally or you're going to pick up? The life of an eagle starts with feeding them. When an eagle feeds the chick for a while, it's going to be testing them on how to face the right life real matter. And once in a while, she's going to use a mouth to pick them up, take them to a very far height, and then drop them. Watch how they are going to flip or flutter. So if the eagle sees that the child is not picking up, come to pick them up and raise them again. We reserve the lesson for another day. But when the child is not yielding, the eagle rather just let the child go until the child begin to pick up. Sometimes you need to shadow watch them. Make them feel as if you are not around. As a matter of fact, you can create a worst case scenario and ask them for the decision they want to take. with the mentality that they bear responsibility for every action or decision they make in life. You can't always be there for them and with them. And you need to prepare them for eventuality now. Now, you need to prepare them for eventuality now. That's how to raise a good leader. Another thing is to not shield them from all the truth that you know. Don't shield them from all the truth that you know. Either religious truth, either political truth, either sexual truth, either social truth, and all of that. You, as a parent, you actually know the right age to expose them to the right truth. But the thing is, some parents really don't do well in that aspect at all. They shield their children from every of these truths, the information they are exposed to. And I'm not saying just tell them one day that, okay, the world is coming to an end. No. And that's why we keep saying that you must have a communication relationship with your child. You must be able to be to talk about anything and everything with them. Do you guys have a friendly chat? Do you often have a chat? Or how is your home? You go to some houses and then the mother is locking herself up in her room. The children is locking themselves. They are locking themselves up in their room. Everybody with their phones or their TV. The only time they come together is when there is hunger. And she's even already there to prepare the food for them. The moment they pick their food, they go back in their room. What kind of a home is that? That's how they run prison. Even in prison, people still talk. Warders of prison still chat with inmates. So in your home, you must stomp your feet to the ground and insist that there must be communication here. And how do you do that? You do that by leading by example. Create communication. With your communication, there are some information you'll be divulging to them that will not be sounding so supernatural. They take it lightly and they just they digest it naturally. Don't shield them from all the truth that you know. Either the truth about their heritage, the truth about their race as black or white people, the truth about the past of their ancestors, the truth about their existence and coexistence, the truth about their slave masters, the truth about the education, the truth about their languages. You need to be able to expose them to their history so that they know the weight of their chain. And that's that when you yourself are applying your mind to knowledge and information. So many of you parents are lazy parents who are not knowledgeable. Now, being knowledgeable in this term means that you are not exposing your mind to information. You don't read. You don't read further than the course you study in school. You can be very good as an accountant, but very dumb in religious sphere. That's why you see a professor of law bowing down to a mechanic to take anointing oil because they don't even though they are well read only in a narrow mind. But the world is not narrow. The world is not just one way. The world is over. How many books have you read? How many things have you exposed your mind to? How many information do you have as parent? See, being a parent is also something you must prepare for. Not only in terms of how much you know God, but how much you know the world where you are existing. That's why I'm telling ladies, you can't afford to marry a man who is not knowledgeable. It is not everybody that goes to school that cannot be related to, that cannot be referred to as illiterate. Some people went to school and they are educated illiterate. And this is not limited to men alone. It is not only men's responsibility to learn and to read wide. You women must also be able to do that. If a man feel intimidated because you are knowledgeable, he should go to blazes. He's not worthy of you. If you are not going to read it for the sake of your spouse, at least do it for the sake of the children. Science has proven that children inherit the IQ of their mothers. Nobody want to marry a dumb woman because we don't want the dumbness to be transferred to the children. You get the point? So you must be standardized as as a mother also and also as fathers in terms of exposure of information. How much do you know about your continent, about your race, about your origin? How much do you know? How can you prove it? Or you are living your life hook, line, and sinker by the things that you have been told over and over again, things that were told your parents that did not allow them to achieve their maximum, to attain the maximization of their purpose in life. Is that what you want to feed your children also? Some of you don't have a book library. You don't even know what it takes to actually sit down in one spot and consume 2 books in a year, but we see you on all social media. For the sake of the children, please, I'm begging you. Another thing is to allow them to disagree with you. Allow them to query you, allow them to disagree with you. You see, if your child could query you about decisions you are making, then you are becoming successful in terms of your parenting style gradually. If they can query you about your decision, if they can query you about the steps you are making, about the order you are giving at home, if they can query, if they have enough boldness to query you as either their father or their mother, or to hold you into account. Maybe you said A and you are doing B, and they say, but daddy or mommy, you said we shouldn't do this. Then you are raising children who are going to become leaders in the future, because when they can query their parent, they can query anybody. Nobody is bigger than our parents, except they are trying to bully us. And that's part of the self-confidence we want to learn from home, that no one has the right to bully us outside. Okay? So if you raise them up to be able to query your decision, you can't just tell them to 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 take a vacation without explaining to them. That's why communication matters. You can't just tell them not to move with a certain kind of friends without giving them explanation. That's why some of them go behind your back to do exactly what you said they should not do, because they don't know the consequences of what you are saying they shouldn't do. You love to give others as parents. You think the best favor you can do them is to bath them and give them food and put clothes on them and put roof over their table. Hello, someone else can do that for you. A criminal outside there is waiting to just snatch them from you. The people, the social workers are waiting for you to make mistakes so that they can take those children and provide that for you. But what you can give to your child that makes them know, okay, I have a parent, is the self-confidence to be able to query and ask questions. Why do we need to do this? Why are we doing what we are doing? And it is not common in African home. I don't know for African American, but full African home, we rarely ask questions. Fathers are coming home like one demon that was just casted out from one legion man, boning their face anyhow. Mothers are nagging and shouting every time. You are too scared to express yourself. You can't even ask them questions. They automatically believe that, okay, whatever food I prepare is what you should eat. What if I don't like what you prepared? What if you discuss with me that what are we going to eat tonight? What do you feel like eating? Those are the freedom that we begin to train these children up gradually, to make them understand that they have a choice. That aside the menaces and the vices that is going on in the society, they have a choice. They can make a choice, and they are responsible for the choice they make, and also responsible for the choice they allow the world to make for them, or the society to make for them. That the consequences of the choice they make and the consequences of the choice they allow other people to make for them is still bouncing back on them. So they should be able to ask questions. Train these children up to be able to ask you questions. When you give them that self-confidence to be, I'm not saying train them up to be confrontational. There is a difference between that. I'm not saying train your children up to be confrontational or to abuse you or to, you know, disrespect you. No, I don't appreciate that. I'm saying give them that allowance to be able to ask, mommy, but why? Why don't I need to walk with my friend? Why should I not move with my friend? And you begin to sit them down and you talk to them about it. So allow them to disagree with you and query you on things. I was raised in a generation whereby when we were taught in class and our teachers ask us that any question, we say no, even though we don't understand, because we are not fit to even ask questions. They will abuse us, abuse our parents. And because that's how our parents trained us up, not to query them for anything we believe is right. And so we left school without being educated. We left school without being educated. We got certificates and we are not certified. Because charity begins at home. That behavior started from home. We can't ask our parents questions. We can't query their decision. They believe that they are the alpha and omega of our life. You are the mother and the father of your children. You are not their creator. You are not their creator. Even their creator, they can ask questions. Another thing is to be willing to respect their choice at the early age. Be willing to respect their choice at the early age, and always tell them that every choice comes with consequences. Every choice comes with its own consequences. Make sure you do your best and allow them to face the consequence of their action. Make sure you do your best and allow them to face the consequence of their action. So, someone is telling me that here in America, children are allowed to ask questions. As a matter of fact, we teach them to an inquisitive mind. Yeah, that is very, very right. That is what is needed. And also be ready to answer with truth. Yeah, don't be partial when you are answering. Because the day they find out the truth from an outsider, they stop coming to you as a source of truth. And the outsider become their new role model. You don't want your children seeing you as a liar. The way some of you ladies were trained up by your parents, by your mothers to say that the moment you start seeing your menstruation, if a man touches you, you get pregnant straight away, and you begin to be rude to men just because your mother said until you enter biological class and they told you that it takes sex, actual sex, to get pregnant and all that. And you are not able to forget your mother till today because they got you scared. And the process of getting you scared, they scared you into what they are preventing you from. They scared you into what they are preventing you from. A lot of single mothers and all that outside there. We are too strict on these children. A lot of you fell into motherhood at the early age and your life is not yet on point till today. Why? If you trace it, you realize that your parents are good contributor to that particular decision you made. Some of you even got pregnant because you want to spite your parents, because you want to spite them. Some of you got pregnant because you had no freedom at home, and the only person who allows you to express yourself actually wants something back for the service rendered. Some of you, a lot of you, many people watching me now or be listening to me later, you have felt pregnant, you have aborted several times because it is not because you are a wayward child. True, before God and man, you are a good child. You are a good child. You wanted the best of life, but your parent caused it. Your parents they caused it. They caused it, and we don't want to repeat the same thing.